So, Steve, I got to tell you, the holiday coming up, Thanksgiving, is truly my favorite day of the year.
Yeah.
Not just for the food, it's especially for the gathering of people together.
Wow. Sounds like a good topic, Steve.
I think we ought to have that as our topic this time, Thanksgiving.
So you want to continue watching and see what Mr. Wastenberg is grateful for.
I bet you he's got some things he's grateful for as well, Mr. Walsh here.
That could be.
Well, hello, Steve.
Hi, Steve.
How the heck are you doing?
Doing terrific.
Terrific is how I'm doing as well, and we want to thank all of you for showing up here. Welcome to the
Steve and Steve Show.
I'm Steve Wastenberg,
And I'm Steve Walsh.
and we can't say enough how thankful we are that you all are here right now. Really appreciate you subscribing, to telling your friends and family about it, and gosh darn, we're growing.
Yep. We're getting some momentum on the viewership, so we appreciate you hitting the play. If you have seen our videos and enjoyed them, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell so you get a notification when we publish a new one. We're very consistent. I don't remember what number we're on, but we're well over the 40s. So we're coming up on our 1
This will
year
be like
anniversary.
1 year of
Pretty
this.
soon. Yeah, pretty
Gosh,
soon.
that's
So
that's
pretty cool.
persistence.
That's it.
That
It
is
is.
persistence, and good things come to those who persist.
Yep.
It's a
And
famous.
persistence is a success principle as well.
Well, there you go. I thought it must be famous somewhere. Steve, this is a bountiful. We're about ready to get into, as you're listening to this, Thanksgiving. So this is a bountiful day, and this 2020 has been pretty. You got to find things that you're grateful for. I don't say that it's that difficult, but this has been a tough year, right,
Yeah.
for a lot of people out there.
It has been. So I think that, the topic for today is kind of revisiting a little bit around the attitude of gratitude.
Agreed.
And taking time out to be thankful for what you do have.
And on that note, our drink today to be thankful for is water. I mean, let's face it, water. Everybody needs it.
Well, if you think
Clear, simple.
we're in a country where we can just turn it on.
It's abundant.
Yeah, and it flows from the inside of our house. We don't have to go and get it, and when we do get it, it doesn't come out. It comes out clear. Safe to drink.
I think that's one of the things to start this off as an incredible thing to be grateful for. How many of us really think about the fact that water is so plentiful, so bountiful for us in this country? So thank you for water.
Yeah, and if you're in other countries that you have it, so maybe you should think about some of the simplicities, because there's other countries that have running water as well.
Right.
So, all right. So, Steve, what we're coming up on the Thanksgiving week. What's some of the traditions that your family does for Thanksgiving?
Oh wow! So we gather together we have a pretty big extended family, and it's usually Thanksgiving started always with my mom and dad, and then their mom and dad, and we'd have a lot of people that were gathering together. Now it's kind of gone to Cecilia and I, or my sister Lynn and her husband Dave will kind of swap off sometimes between those houses. But we always get, between, 30 and 50 people at ours. And so we have a big table that we always try to keep the table all one big table so everybody's together, not a bunch of little islands of people. And we do have a tradition of going around saying what we're thankful for, number one. Probably one of the more interesting traditions is something that I kind of instilled in ours is dressing, okay? Frankly, you can't have a Thanksgiving without dressing.
So you guys all dressed like drag queens or what?
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. That kind of dressing up on the thing. No, it's the dressing that you might stuff the turkey with.
Oh.
But in our case, we have the traditional dressing, And then we have the special dressing for the year. And it's always a theme, and it's always a theme that I come up with. And, well, I usually do the dressing. But it's been crazy things over the years. I remember one year that it's kind of infamous. I used some of the drippings of the turkey, but it burnt. And so that was called, I think they called it oil can dressing or something. It was like black and not very good. That year it was bad, but every year people look forward to the special dressing of the year.
See what it's going to be. Huh?
That's right. And I'm not sure yet this year what it's going to be. Maybe I'll call it, no, I won't call it that. I won't call it that. Maybe I'll call it the Wuhan dress. No, I won't call it that either.
Well,
anyway, I got time.
Maybe it'll be freedom dressing this year.
Freedom dressing. I like that. Red, white, and blue. Marshmallows and strawberries and.
Well, you have a lot of new members, right? Some new babies that are either that have just arrived or are on their way. So your family definitely has lots to be thankful for.
This is an incredible year. We've got 2 grandchildren that were just recently born. Another grandchild that he's like 3 or 4 years old. 4 years old. Sorry if I missed that age. So we've got 3 there, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's more. And I'll tell you what, in a matter of a year, Cecilia and I have become grandparents, and I do say, Steve, that I am so incredibly thankful for the idea of being a grandparent. I'll give you a quick little story. You know, my stories are very quick, right? For the longest time, you always heard the cliche about, oh, wait till you're a grandparent because that's the real time when, and I'd say, yeah, right. Well, it's just more kids that you, I think though, first of all, it's true. Grandparent is just amazing. And I think maybe it's because as opposed to when you're raising your children, you're constantly like under the stress and and it's new and what do we do here and when we rely on other people. When you're a grandparent, you've kind of gone through that. So it's like you're revisiting without the anxieties.
Right.
That's what I'd say. Anyway, it's amazing.
And in most cases, the grandkids get to go home at the end of the day.
Yeah, and that's kind of the cliche that they say. But I tell you, you don't have to go home, grandchildren. I love it. It's really something else.
Yeah, very cool.
It's really cool. I should bring our baby grandchild down here to show you how beautiful it is. But... Well, tell me, Steve, what are you, you've got a lot of things that, in fact, I think you just got some new stuff happening as well. You're grateful for some things, I assume.
Yep. So all the kids are out of high school, so our youngest graduated and started college. And then we bought a new house and moved into a new house. So we're definitely grateful for what this year has been. Certainly this has been a tough year for a lot of people.
Oh, so, yeah.
We're even Janine with her, she has, her career changed this year, but fortunate enough to be able to maintain, the income through all this, where a lot of people didn't have that ability.
Oh, the kinds of things that have happened this year, I'm not sure there's been a year, at least in my life, where it's been this chaotic,
Right.
And I know a lot of folks out there are hurting far more than we are. But I will recount, I'm not going to recount here, but I can just look at not just the fact of the virus that happened, but all of these other things that went on specifically in our family and extended family. Seemed like it was just one thing after another that was cascading down as challenges. So 2020 is going to go down in the books, folks, but it's also a time, I think, and I don't know what you think about this, Steve, is that when you're in the midst of that kind of chaos, do you find that it's a time where character is exposed? Do you find that it's a time where you actually show up as how you respond to that chaos?
Yeah, so that's a good way to phrase it, is how you respond, right? So I think your character is always there. And it's really when it comes down to crisis. And they say, sometimes when you need your friends, that's really when you find out who is truly your friend, right? And that's the same when something happens, you can find out what your character abilities or your traits are, right? So it kind of goes, is there a fight or flight response, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that definitely is in this crisis mode that we've had for, throughout 2020. There was lots of ups and downs, more downs than ups this year. And what was the attitude? Kind of this is a good time to reflect on that and say, what was my attitude? Did I freak out? Did I kind of go with the wind? Did I take precautionist actions? Think about, like, we had, even like this, seems so long ago, but we had that shortage of toilet paper, right? What was the reaction when you found out that you couldn't go to the store and get toilet paper?
Yeah, it was a little bizarre, wasn't it?
It was bizarre, but you think about it, it's like, did you go into more of a panic of like, what am I going to do, right? Or did you go and say, well, it'll just show up and I'll have an opportunity to grab it? Or
that's a great question. And reflecting back on it, some people did think it was absurd. Others truly, absolutely panicked.
Yeah.
Others looked at it as an opportunity. Hey, lots of people want toilet paper. I'm going to go buy it and sell it on the corner.
So keeping with the theme of today's topic, I am very grateful.
You guys hoarded it?
No, we didn't hoard, but we were very grateful that we were early in getting a supply. I don't know if it was at a hoard level. It certainly was not a hoard level, but it was a preparation level where we actually just happened to hit the Costco or Sam's Club or whatever. My wife found it right before it hit, right? So we knew we were good. Right?
It's interesting that you say that, because we were the absolute opposite. We also go to Costco to get ours, and so you can imagine we get a big set of it, but we actually were down pretty far on it when we moved into that, and all of a sudden we find ourselves in the what are we going to do? Now, I won't go into details. I was in the military, and so we wasn't kind of knew that you didn't have toilet paper sometimes in the field.
That's right. There's always the shower.
There is the shower. But I mean, I just say that, things to be grateful about. Toilet paper kind of falls down on the list to me as things to be really grateful about. There are a lot of other things that
higher
that ought to stand up, a lot bigger. Let me ask you, you mentioned something earlier about fight or flight. Mm-hmm. How about you? What was your sense of when all of this started happening? Did you feel like I got to get out of here? Or did you feel like, hey, I'm going to stand in and... What was your sense?
Well, that's good. So there's two aspects, I think. There's a level where you do have to bug out, right? And so we didn't panic to the point where we had to bug out or with a flight standpoint, but we did look at it and say, we need to prepare because we don't know what's going to happen, right? So, and I think when you start to prepare, I think you kind of go into fight mode, right? It's like, we didn't do nothing. We went to the store and purchased a little bit more than we normally did, just in case we couldn't get to the store for a couple weeks.
Right.
But we didn't get to the point where we said, all heck is broken loose in this.
I need 6 months worth of.
Let's head to our bug out zones. It wasn't that stage, but it was definitely, let's get prepared because we don't know what's coming. And so I think that if you look at the needle, right, if there's a needle of fight or flight, and normal every day you're in the middle, in the keel of that. Which way did the needle float when that decision came?
Right.
And I think it floated towards the fight of let's get prepared for something that may happen.
Well, I think I would say the same thing, and I have to say that's another thing that I'm quite grateful for, the fact that we have a network of people, that we can be around. We have a network of food and supplies and things that we can get, and I'm really incredibly grateful for that. And I think anybody that is in that situation where we have that, we need to be grateful for it. And what can we do to potentially help out those that don't have that kind of thing? I always think about it this time of year, and I need to think about it a lot more, but I think about it this time of year of how many folks out there are in situations where they won't have this kind of celebration at Thanksgiving, or they won't have
Right.
you know, a great place to stay warm. They might even be just looking at, you know, barely surviving through this.
Yeah.
I know back a while ago, we used to do something that I actually learned from Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins used to do this turkey deal. I don't know if you read that about Tony Robbins is a personal development coach, really one of the most famous. And he used to, early on, he used to buy these turkeys and he put this thing together where it was kind of this turkey run where he'd get these turkeys out to all these homeless
He started
shelters.
He started with one family and then went to 10, and now I think he's up to like 1 million families.
Damn,
So
Christmas.
yeah,
That's
but there's
just,
a lot of that goes around, right? I know our local church does something similar where you can sponsor a family for the different holidays.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a good way to, you know, express your gratitude by helping someone else be gratifying as well, right?
well, another one of the quick traditions we used to have when our kids were younger, we would get together on a few days before Thanksgiving. Actually, it was the day before, and we'd gather us and we'd cook a full-on homemade Thanksgiving meal. And it'd be for 15 or 20 people. Every year it grew to larger. And then we would take those plates hot and go to somebody. In this case, we'd go in Boulder and we'd just walk up to a place and we'd just deliver this food to people that were gathering in a park or somewhere that were homeless. And my kids to this day really just, you know, loved that. And it grew over time to a much larger. Now, as the kids grew up and started moving out and all, we haven't done that, but I want to get that started again. It was great for the kids, and it was really wonderful to just and we didn't, you know, spend time evangelizing or anything. It was the only objective was to get one of my favorite days of the year, Thanksgiving, a hot meal, home cooked, to people that weren't going to have one, or if they went to a cafeteria or a shelter or something, it was going to be great, but it wasn't going to be quite the same as something as if they were eating at our house.
There's a guy, you made me remind me, there's a guy, so when I lived down in Arizona, there is a McDonald's down near the border town in Nogales, and I don't know the exact details, but I believe it was an orphanage that would come across from
Mexico.
And they would pretty much get a free McDonald's day on Thanksgiving.
Oh, wow.
So that guy just totally supported that environment and provided free meals for that area. It was pretty cool. And there's a lot of things like that. And so if you want to be able to give out, I think you just have to open your eyes and, you know, check with your local church, local community. The food banks are always doing stuff. There's the shelters that are always doing things, and they all need some sort of help, if it's financial, time. And you don't have to wait for Thanksgiving, because a lot of time people just volunteer around the Thanksgiving and the Christmas season, the holiday seasons, and they actually need more help on the off season, because that's when people are not thinking about them.
Right.
So that's when like the food drives are the most effective.
No, you're absolutely right. You're right. It's easy to think about it when you're landing on something and then say, I've done it for my year.
Right.
Whereas those times when they're not is
And there's a huge gratifying fulfillment at part of your day when you're doing that type of activity, helping with the shelter or food drives and stuff like that. So, all right, Steve. Well, let's give these. I think it's a worthy homework assignment to get everyone as they go into the Thanksgiving week here
and the holiday season.
And the holiday season, to look back at 2020, since it was such a challenging year, to think about all the, not just things, but the people that were a part of your 2020 that you're grateful for, and maybe even some of the people that maybe you're not so grateful for, but maybe there's a way that you could say, you know what, that person really ticked me off, but the one thing that they did do that I did like, and be grateful for that, and kind of take appreciation of that, versus just having a thankful list and everybody else, right? Kind of look at the whole situation. Find gratefulness or thankfulness in every aspect of your life: the people, the items, the atmosphere. What did the COVID crisis teach you? What did the political crisis teach you about? You know, what are some of the things that did occur that maybe you didn't think about before that you truly can be grateful for?
You know, I think that's a great idea, great homework assignment, and to add a little bit to it, think of this 2020 year, which I doubt that there are very many people out there that say, well, it was just a normal year. This was a very unique year. But what if this was an opening up to people like us in the United States, a lot of us in the United States who have so much that now we experienced what do you think? 90% of the world? It's a huge number.
Well, there's definitely another part of the world that doesn't have as many
And
freedoms as
that
we
their life is 2020. You know, that is their life, their everyday life. So this exposure to 2020 should set us into thinking about how is it that we can get a different mindset to give back. And Steve, I really like the way you talked about this homework assignment, thinking about not just the people you love who are going to be at your Thanksgiving party, but those that you actually really dislike. And I'm sure in this political environment, we can find it on both sides of the aisle, and reach out to somebody and say, hey, you know what? We may not agree, but dang it, I love you as a human being, and have a conversation that's not loaded with
right.
X, Y, or Z.
Right. All right, Steve.
All right.
It's a good topic. So
Cheers.
Thank
Water.
you for watching us. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't done that. And please share and talk to your friends about watching the Steve and Steve Show.
Comment. You know what? Comment.
All right.
Cheers.
Enjoy.